Love. Love is everywhere. Between you, me, the tree, the rock. It binds us, penetrates us, holds the universe together. Or maybe that's the Force. For as much as we love love, we don't know very much about it. It is a mysterious thing. Why it pulls people together or pushes them apart. Love, despite being something that originates from our own hearts, almost seems to be a living thing that makes decisions all on its own, giving us very little say in what it chooses to hold or discard. This video will get better, I promise. The point is, love isn't always explainable, so get ready for this. What if Boruto and Korra had a baby? Yes, I know that they're not in the same universe, but for a small moment, let's say that this is possible. Boruto has already displayed the ability to travel through time, and Sasuke and his Rinnegan could travel through space to different dimensions. That being said, I think it would be a cool concept to see. A mixture of Avatar elements with Naruto. So let's put our two Pokemon into the daycare and see what hatches. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. First off, we're going to base our story in only one world. Given that Korra is the mother, we'll assume that the child will grow up in her world. This means that she'll live as a member of the Avatar line of characters. Alright, let's get down into this and determine what kind of child we will have. Congratulations! It's a girl. Now, let's give a good name to this child. After all, every child deserves a good name. Let's look at the parents' names to start. Korra's name was based on the dog of a hotel operator, as stated by DiMartino and Konietzko. That name comes from Greek and Celtic and means maiden. When Korra's name is spelled on a wanted poster by the Earth Queen, it is spelled using the kanji for bandit drag. As for Boruto, his name is actually quite obvious. The first thing that I need to mention is that his name is slightly mistranslated in English. Well, for us at least, it loses its meaning. If we were using Japanese only and were to say his name, we would recognize the use of glides in it, meaning in English, the name Bolt is actually far closer. It's a bit of a cooler name for him, isn't it? Bolt. This name is actually fitting, as its romanization gives it a similar spelling to Naruto, as well as a connection to Hinata Hyuga's family. Remember Neji Hyuga, the one who died so Boruto's parents could live? Yeah, well, the root meaning of the word Neji in Japanese is screw, meaning our boy Boruto is named after a metallic fastener, which is pretty cool, but what does this mean for our child? Well, let's look. Given that the Avatar and the Legend of Korra, despite taking references from Japanese anime, is actually in line with Chinese when it comes to the names and titles, so we'll use Chinese for it. Considering Boruto and Neji's naming convention, we'll use the word fastener for the child, which comes up as Jin Gujian, but for simplicity, we'll just call her Jin. Now, as for what she inherits, she will likely have a similar appearance to Korra, but she will be blonde and possess blue eyes with small whisker-like pigmentation under them. Personality-wise, she will be hard-headed. She'll be tough, but a bit of a know-it-all. She can often seem ungrateful for the things she has, but she can be very protective over it. She's quick to fight, and when she fights aggressively and to win. Much like her mother, she would likely make a good MMA fighter, or perhaps a pro bender. She would not be the Avatar, but she would possess strong bending due to being the daughter of the Avatar. This would be what she specializes at. However, despite not being the Avatar, she possessed the odd ability to utilize all elements and even manipulate some things that no bender has ever bent before. This gives her natural affinity for all elements and would further into sub-elements such as lava bending and metal bending. She would more than likely have other elements she could bend as well. She also would inherit quite a bit of Otsutsuki DNA. Boruto, by the time he's stopped Momoshiki from resurrecting, has 80% Otsutsuki DNA, which would be passed on to his daughter, granting Jin at least 40% Otsutsuki, with 60% being human and 50% being predisposed to water bending. And bending is genetic generally, with the other half being predisposed to jutsu. She would possess both chi and chakra, whether you consider chakra or chi to be the same, as Avatar also toys with the concepts of chakras, though their usage is far different. And beyond that, she also possesses a special dojutsu. She possesses Boruto's Jogan. Now, for the sake of us not knowing much about it, we'll merely treat this as the anime treated it, as that it's basically just a stronger Byakugan. Essentially, it does what the Byakugan does, but with the added benefit of seeing portals, dark energy, and hidden things, which would fit Jin well in that she would likely inherit Korra's issues, among which would be the spirit world. If you recall, during her battle with Vaatu, she opened the North and South Pole portals, which joined both the living world with the spirit world, and she opted to leave it open, allowing the spirit wilds to once more take root in their world. And trust me, such a thing will come into play here. More than likely, after retirement, if an avatar can do such a thing, Korra would return to the Southern Water Tribe, which is likely where Jin would be raised. That being said, I will set the story about 20 years in the future after the events of the end of Korra, and will set Jin at the age of 16. I also wish to inform you that I haven't had the pleasure of reading the Korra novels and the like, meaning my knowledge extends to the end of Korra. So if I make a mistake and do or say something that seems to break established lore, understand that this is simply because I do not know. Anything beyond the show I would know due to the AVATARWIKI, of which a lot of credit goes to them. Thanks, AVATARWIKI. So without further ado, let's get into Jin's life. The story would start in the Southern Water Tribe. A baby's cries are heard echoing over the frozen tundra. Korra had just given birth. Honestly, this was not something she expected. She'd met a kind boy that had been traveling time and space. He was unlike something she had ever seen, and almost seemed alien to her. He possessed the ability to bend multiple elements at once. His personality sucked a bit, but he had a good heart. They spent a lot of time together and developed a relationship that Korra thought she might have found with Mako, but had long since proven that it would never work. Sadly, it couldn't work with this boy either. Boruto had to keep moving as he wasn't from this world. She would never forget that odd eye he possessed. A scar crossed over it as it shimmered in a strange inversion to what a normal eye would look like. And now Korra was here. She still had a lot of work to do in this world. The spirit portals were open and spirits were crossing daily, and not all of them were good. Then she had to deal with the remains of the insurrection in the Earth Kingdom, where the remnants of Kuvira's empire struggled with the Earth Kingdom that was still struggling to convert to democracy. After all the scandals, it was hard to trust the word of any politician. This made fertile ground for the Order of the Red Lotus to set up shop and start converting the Earth Kingdom into the first true anarchist state. After all, Zahir said it best. The natural order of things was disorder. This meant Korra had frighteningly little time to be a mother to her child. This didn't mean she didn't care, and it certainly didn't mean that she didn't love Jin. Every free moment she got, she would spend with her daughter, playing with her even if Korra herself was so tired that she risked falling asleep during these playtimes. Some occasions she did, and when she did, Jin would just cuddle up with her and a blanket. But at around the time Jin turned 16, her mother had stopped coming home. Jin had dedicated much of her time and life to getting stronger. She'd been told by her mother that she was born for something more. She wasn't just another person, she was special. And the Order of the White Lotus agreed with this. After all, Jin was the only person they had ever seen with the capabilities to bend all of the elements besides Korra. This caused strife within the Order as to the meaning of this. Was Jin somehow the next avatar even though Korra was still alive? Was this something caused by the last harmonic convergence? They trained this girl like they would the avatar since it wasn't known whether she was the avatar or not. By the time she was 16, she had managed to master all 4 elements and a few sub-elements such as lightning, metal, and lava. They, however, would not teach her bloodbending, even though she likely could do it because how the art was considered illegal across the world, including in both the northern and southern water tribes, as well as in Republic City. When her mother was gone for over a year without letter or message and failed to return the month of her birthday or the month after, they began to worry. Then Jin would overhear the Order of the White Lotus mention that they lost all contact with Korra and did not know where she was. It would be at this point that she would pack her things. Tonrock and Senna would caution her and ask her to stay, but given that she was a free spirit like her mother and knowing from experience that it wasn't right to bind such a spirit to a single place when they were meant for so much more, they would let her go. Jin would grab the glider her mother had sent her on her visit to the Southern Air Temple on one occasion and would then climb on the back of Naga 2. This polar bear dog was the only pup they kept from the original Naga, who had sadly passed about 5 years earlier. She would take Naga 2 to the port, where she would stow away on a boat heading to Republic City. Upon reaching the office, she would meet up with Mako. Mako, at this point in time, was the next police chief. Bolin at this time would be on his own and likely wouldn't be around to greet Jin, as he is a big mover star now. Asami was also running her father's business, but would make time for Jin and attempt to help her find Korra. Jin would ask what the best thing she could do to find Korra was, and they would both say to contact President Raiko. as it seemed Korra was doing a job for him. They would venture there only to find that Raiko was meeting with Desna and Eska, the current chieftains of the Northern Water Tribe, having replaced their father after Unalaq had thrown in with Vaatu and had been killed to stop the Dark Spirit. Raiko would talk with Jin, but wouldn't have much time to deal with it. Jin would ask what's wrong, and Raiko would tell her that the Northern Water Tribe had recently started seeing an influx of dark spirits. Jin asks if this somehow means that Vaatu has returned, and Desna and Eska would nod, saying that this mirrors what happened years earlier with their father. Jin would vow to help them and would travel with them to the Northern Water Tribe, where they would take her to the Northern Spirit Portal. They would tell her to be careful in the portal. They would tell her that she would keep her bending, but this doesn't mean that there still isn't going to be danger. Jin would nod and enter the portal into the spirit world, where she would meet with Iroh and Zuko. Zuko, having reached a very ripe age, and knowing that his time was short, had decided to follow Iroh into the spirit world, abandoning his body in the living world. They would speak with Jin, and Jin would ask if this was Vaatu's doing, and they would both shake their heads. They would say that another dark spirit has risen, and while not as powerful as Vaatu, it was still a fairly powerful spirit. Its name was not one that she should ever ask, as the last avatar to trade names with this spirit ended up cursed, and all those who knew of the spirit during this time were also cursed. They told her to beware the man with the jade-colored eyes, and that she should start her quest in the Earth Kingdom. Iroh mentioned that if she started there, all the answers to the questions she had would be answered. Jin nodded and left the spirit world. They returned to where she had left Desna and Eska and told them of what was going on. They would send her to the Earth Kingdom, where she would meet up with Suyin Beifong and her daughter Opal, the latter of which was the current leader of Zaofu. Sadly, Bolin wasn't there at the moment, as he was off filming another mover called The Adventures of Nooktook Resurgence. But Opal was willing to help as best she could. Jin would ask if she had seen Korra or a man with jade eyes. Opal said that she hadn't, but she could do well to meet up with the Earth King, and that she would even set up an audience with him. Jin would spend a weekend at Zaofu discussing her mother with Opal, who said she was a great hero and that she was among the first to meet her when she developed her airbending powers. She would mention that she had a rough go of it when Zahir poisoned her, but she managed to shake it off to face off against Kuvira, who launched a war that threatened to consume the world. Thankfully, this was stopped, and she eventually pled guilty to war crimes, but that her empire was still out there causing issues. Later, Jin would be allowed to meet King Wu of the Hu Ting dynasty, and she would ask for anything regarding her mother. Wu would mention that he had requested Korra's help from President Raiko in regards to a resurgence of the Earth Kingdom Empire, who seemed to be moving against the slow democratization of the Earth Kingdom, and were being supplied by strange benefactors, one of which he could pinpoint being the Order of the Red Lotus. She had gone to investigate a rumor of a hidden base in the remains of the now defunct Daili's secret base at Lake Laogai. Jin would thank him for his help and rush there to see if she could find her mother, but she'd be met with Red Lotus agents, each of them which were using their bending. But as she fought, Jin's Jogun would activate and reveal to her that her enemies were under strange control, and that there were secret tunnels to the spirit world everywhere. Jin would face off against these Red Lotus agents and defeat them, but as she went deeper, she would find that there were dark spirits guarding the deeper sanctums. Remembering what her mother taught her, she used her waterbending to free the dark spirits of their evil and made it deeper. When she entered the main chamber, she would find her mother. They had once more attempted to poison her to force her into the Avatar state to kill her, but much like before, Korra had fought back. However, the end result wasn't as good as it was with Zahir. While they had failed to kill her while she was in the Avatar state, she had managed to harm her mortally. They were trying to figure out how best to kill her now that she was out of the Avatar state in hopes of ending Korra's cycle. However, Jin would put a stop to this. There would be two people there, a male and a female. The male bore eyes that shone a light color of green like jade. Jin knew this was the one that Iroh and Zuko had warned her about. But who was this other girl? She couldn't have been much older than Jin herself. The girl didn't speak. She simply stepped forward and bent stone to grip her in a stone fist, and then water to cover Jin's head in hopes of drowning her. "That is enough, Tekka," the man would say. She would let Jin breathe. The man would step forward and introduce himself. "I am Gao of the Order of the Red Lotus." Jin would still be coughing and trying to breathe, expelling the water from her lungs. "Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to kill my mother?" Gao would smile. "Some in the Lotus wish to see her dead to bring the natural balance back. Me? I just want a little vengeance. Tekka here, not so different. She also wishes for some revenge on your mother." He would continue to explain it to her. "You see, your mother is the latest in a long line of avatars. Korra, preceded by Aang, preceded by Roku, preceded by Kyoshi. Oh yes, I have quite the beef with her. Perhaps more than I do with Kuruk, the avatar before her. And Tekka? Hers is more recent, but nonetheless still deserving of vengeance." Jin would be confused. "How can you know all the avatars from all those years ago?" Jin's Jogan would awaken and she would see that the people before her had a strange spirituality about them. Gao would speak. You know, your mother is not the only avatar, and she's not the only one who reincarnates either. Gao would look back. Tekka, formerly known as Unalaq in a previous life, was the Dark Avatar. As Wan fused with Rava, Unalaq fused with Vatu, and just as Wan reincarnates, so does Unalaq. Me, however, I'm a totally different can of glowworms. In my past life, I used to be friends with the Avatar. Kiyoshi was a close friend of mine, but when my avatarhood was stolen from me, I was left to die by my mentor. In the end, I met my demise at the Avatar's hands. I have never since forgiven her, and I never will, not until I can extinguish her Avatar spirit. Sadly, it looks like I'll have to wait another generation though. She stopped me on that front. But it will only be at most 2 more decades before I can complete my plan. Jin would free herself. She was never as good at bending the other elements as she was at doing water bending, but she had a technique about it. Something left over from her father. She could weave hand signs that would allow her to control the ground around her. It would shatter, and Gao would be surprised. Is it possible we have a 4th avatar in the room with us? She would put her hands together to form a plus sign as multiple versions of herself appeared. She began to face off against Gao and Tekka. During this battle, she would manage to kill Tekka and push Gao off. Then she'd be left alone with Korra. Jin would come to her mother's side and beg her not to go. Korra would smile weakly and talk to her. Oh, good morning, Jinny. Is it time to wake up already? Jin would smile as tears dripped down her face. Yes, Mom, it's time to get up. Korra would give a light giggle. It's not long until your birthday. Where do you want to go? Jin would smile. You promised to show me around Republic City, right? So wake up. Take me there. Show me the park they named in your honor. Show me the spirit wilds. Show me where you defeated Kuvira. Korra would not be looking at her anymore. Take you later. I just need 5 more minutes. Jin shook her head. No, Mom, you gotta get up now. Please, we gotta go now. Korra would close her eyes. 5 more minutes, Jinny. Jin would bite her lip as she felt her mother slip away. Mom, please don't. Stay with me. But Korra was gone. The Red Lotus had taken her from Jin. Jin would bury her mother outside Lake Laogai and return to Zaofu, where Opal was waiting with Jinora, one of the Air Nomad Grand Masters. Jin would tell them what had happened, and they would try to comfort her. They would remind her that Korra is not gone. She will never be gone. She'll only reincarnate to the next avatar and will live eternally within that new one. But Jin isn't comforted by this. She wanted her mother. Whoever Korra would become next would not be her mother. They would be another totally different avatar. They continue to comfort her, but really all just cry together. It's around this time that they get news of Republic City coming under attack. It's Gao, Jin would say. Gao is trying to erase every hint of the Avatar's existence. He feels he was robbed of his avatarhood by Avatar Kyoshi. Jinora would gasp. You don't mean it's... Jin would nod. He said that he had reincarnated like she did due to being bonded to a spirit that can never die as well. Iroh and Zuko cautioned me not to say its name, elsewise I might get cursed like Avatar Kurok was. Those are wise words, Jinora would say. But that is to be expected of Iroh and Fire Lord Zuko. Jin would stand. I need to face Gao. If my mother isn't here to stop him, then someone else must be. Someone has to protect the balance until the next avatar appears. Opal would nod. I'll have an airship ready for you. Jin would then board the balloon and be taken back to Republic City, only to see it set ablaze by many dark spirits that had all been summoned there by Gao and whatever dark spirit he was bonded with. Jin would open the door. Turn back to Zaofu when I get out, she shouted to the pilot. Jin would open her glider and jump out, expelling chakra from her and swirling it below the wings to create lift. She would fly towards the center of the storm her Jogan was detecting. The Fire Nation had already sent its navy in to help, and any warriors who could fight were fighting. Waterbenders were given priority due to their abilities to cleanse dark spirits and heal wounds. Jin would drop down to a rooftop and find Gao there. Look out there, Gao would say. Isn't it beautiful? Jin would only see destruction. You're crazy, and you're here just to destroy the Avatar's legacy? People's lives are in jeopardy. So long as a single person lives, the memory and the legacy of the Avatar will live on. Gao laughed. No, it's not so grand as that. I merely crave the blood that I was cut off from all those years before after Wan closed the spirit portals. This isn't revenge, dear girl. This is a buffet. Jin was appalled. This creature, it's all she could think to call it. It didn't even resemble a human anymore, was here merely to kill people. That was its only goal. She had to defeat it. Jin would dispense with the talk, knowing that there was nothing she could say to change its mind. She would fly into battle with it. She would coat her hand in lightning and rush towards it, attempting to strike with the Chidori. But the being launched up with earthbending and then would fire down a blast of fire at her. Jin would launch a great fireball technique to blow it back. They trade blows back and forth for a time until Jin ultimately decides to try and cleanse the spirit. However, Gao is resistant to this and attempts to turn it on her. Jin, feeling her soul slowly getting corrupted and knowing that there was only one hope she had of ending this for good. Gao was now her problem and would be her battle for all eternity. She weaved the hand signs that her father had left her along with the warning to never use it. She used the Reaper Death Seal to summon the Shinigami, which would then seal not only Jin's soul, but Gao's as well as the dark spirit he had within him. Both Jin and Gao would then die. Jinora and Opal would lament this when they hear about it, but know that this was what was needed to stop Gao. From this point on, they, along with the Order of the White Lotus, would search the fractured Earth Kingdom for the next avatar. Strange enough, they would find him in the son of King Wu, which they believed signified that the child would lead the Earth Kingdom to peace in the future. And that is where this story draws to a close. I hope you enjoyed this. I wanted to try my hand at one of these love child what-ifs that I hear are so popular these days. As I said before, I'm not 100% up to date on the novels, with the only book I've had the pleasure of reading being the Kiyoshi one, which I'm sure most of you have noticed by now. I just thought this would be fun. I sort of let my imagination run wild with the story. I hope I did some justice to such a great show. Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko are geniuses and have truly written a masterpiece of a series. It's one that sparks imagination and is easy to write about. It's one of my favorite shows that I've had the pleasure to watch. And it makes me glad to hear that Avatar Studios has plenty of stuff planned for the future. The future is bright for Avatar fans. I hope I can write more stuff like this in the future. I also found it very interesting to add in Naruto elements. The use of the Jogan was something I was cautious with considering how little we know about it. Officially in the manga, I don't think it's even appeared yet except for a flash forward, meaning we don't know much about what it can do, except for what the anime showed, which might not be true when it's finally revealed in the manga. But who knows? I hope you liked this little story I weaved. As said earlier, love is unpredictable and seemingly can form between people who are very unexpected. That being said, we here at the Amagi want to tell each and every one of our viewers that we both appreciate and love you. The world has a tendency to let you down and break you down. Sometimes we don't always feel very loved, but always remember that somewhere in this world, even if you don't know it, there is someone who loves you. Sorry for getting mushy, I just wanted to let you all know how much we appreciate you. Feel free to like, subscribe, and ring the bell if you want to be notified of more videos like this, and also leave a comment down below letting us know how we did with this video. Did you like it? And if so, would you care to see more like it? We're open to suggestions. So, from everyone here at the Amagi, we wish you all peace.